Just show of hands, how many people have started using Oracle Journeys? Okay, so quite a few. So we're excited to share with you guys our journey in using Oracle Journeys, pun intended. And we want to talk to you a bit about our Oracle Digital Assistant tool, which we call Patty. So really excited. I'm a bit nervous, so I'm going to probably talk really quickly. But I will ask that you guys hold your questions to the very end, and we are happy to answer all sorts of questions about these topics. But also be aware, like, we've sat through a lot of these sessions, and we also find sometimes they don't talk about something you're expecting them to talk about. So I don't want you guys to leave if we didn't touch on something you were hoping to hear about. So please raise your hand and ask a question. More than happy to talk through it. Awesome. Cool. Only went one too far.
You're ready.
Are we good? All right.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Melanie Trudell. I am the Director of HR Technology at the Wendy's company. And when we implemented HCM, I was the HR project lead.
Hi, everybody. I am Elise Baer. I'm the HR Systems Product Owner for Wendy's IT. For the implementation of our HCM solution, I was the technology lead.
And last but not least, can everybody hear me okay? I'll just do this. Last but not least, my name is Karthik Ramkumar. I'm a manager at KPMG focused on HR transformations, and I've been working in the HCM space for the better part of the last decade. And my role on the project was to really partner with Wendy's, really focus and streamline in the areas of compensation, talent management, and the broader HR space.
I keep forgetting. Good call.
Mic check. There we go. All right. Taking a look at our agenda for today, we will start by taking a look about the Wendy's organization, talk a little bit about the background and about the company's values. We will then transition into what is Project WDR. WDR stands for Project Work Done Right, and we're going to talk about what that means from an HCM standpoint, and also what our vision for success is. We will then take a look at the overall transformational journey, so where we started, what are some of the challenges that we faced, when did we go live, and then what were some of the highlights. Followed by which, to really dive deep into the transformational journey, I think it's important to tell the story about how we modernize the employee experience and what tools we use from the Oracle Cloud Solution Suite in order to bring that to life. And then we'll finally wrap it up by looking at what's ahead, what's next, and then followed with some Q&A.
Okay, so who is Wendy's? Hopefully not everyone needs to know who Wendy's is. But Wendy's was founded in 1969 by Dave Thomas in Columbus, Ohio, and he kind of coined the idea of quality as our recipe. And that's something we stick to every day, and we show up mainly in making sure our customers are satisfied in the restaurants. A big piece of that coming from the corporate technology side is making sure our employees can be selling hamburgers and not working in the back office. So since the 1960s, Wendy's has grown significantly. We have over 7,000 restaurants worldwide. We have 411 company stores, and we have 15,000 plus employees. And that was really the scope of our HCM solution, was focusing on those company-owned 15,000 employees. Okay, so what is Work Done Right, or WDR? So that was our multi-phase, multi-year program to implement Oracle Fusion for both finance and HCM. Finance went first, and HCM actually went live last September, so we're not even yet on our 1-year anniversary. That'll be end of this month. And when we looked at Work Done Right, there were internal and external factors we really wanted to focus on. First of those is standard processes, so making sure our employees could have self-service, it was consistent, and they could have mobility, so really using their phones to function. Second piece of that was unifying our HR and our finance systems, so making sure we had efficiencies across both platforms was really important for Wendy's. Then fueling our growth, so enabling data real time so we can make the best decisions for our company. And then finally, simplifying our technology platform. Big piece of that was Oracle, having something that was scalable, easy to use, had refreshes. Another piece of that was turning off old technology that was just not meeting our growing needs.
All right, so taking a look at the Wendy's transformational journey, where it all started was really Wendy's investing in the Oracle Cloud HCM platform. And specifically from an HCM standpoint, the goal was to not just have a system in place that was efficient, but also one that was modern, user-friendly, easily accessible mobile computer, and also a system that provided access to near real-time HR data. And that's where the partnership between KPMG and Wendy's was really pivotal, because we put our collective heads together, really focused on what is business critical, what is needed for day one, what are some of the areas that are done offline that we could optimize and bring it into the system. And so the result was an implementation that resulted in a system that covered the comprehensive needs of the HR department. Extending with that, we went live in Q3 of last year. Modules included payroll, compensation, time and labor, benefits, performance, onboarding, and more. And to really to set the stage for the employee experience, there are two critical features that we leveraged extensively to bring that to life. One is Patty, which Elise mentioned earlier, which is our Oracle digital assistant, and how we leverage the power of journeys to really streamline and standardize the processes, some of those which were happening manually before, and then some that just provided more structure and better visibility to managers and employees and other stakeholders involved.
So Karthik mentioned a little bit about the partnership, and we included a quote on this slide from our Chief People Officer, Coley O'Brien, just as a recognition of the importance of that partnership. Wendy's really sought a partner who had done this before, always helpful, but came with those best practices and playbook, and then just pushed us to think differently, right? It's hard to simplify platforms. It's hard to streamline technology, and it's hard to move away from old processes. So KPMG was there with us as we moved through that journey.
So here's sort of a bite-sized chunk of what that program really was. So we had over 1,000 different requirements. We had 300 plus different participants and 120 core team members, 18 work streams, and 75 integrations. So this was a massive effort. And we wanted to really focus today on onboarding and our Oracle Digital Assistant, Patty. Okay, so why are we talking about onboarding and Oracle Digital Assistant? This was a huge piece of our work stream and our go live because we recognized that this is a high touch point for our restaurants. Our restaurants make up the bulk of our population, so making sure that they knew how to use the system was a high priority. And of course, onboarding is their first experience interacting with the Wendy's system. So today we'll talk you through our contextual journeys, we'll talk you through the Oracle Digital Assistant, and like I said, hold your questions to the end, more than happy to answer them. Okay, so streamlined onboarding. Is anyone here still using paper onboarding? People are filling out paper when they are onboarding. Yes, we've been there, we are done with it. I'm so sorry you're still on paper. It is a tough life. So pre-HCM, we were also in paper. We had FedEx, our onboarding documents to every store. The employee on day one would fill out that paper. The general manager would take the paper and fill it into a system. Then they'd fill it into another system. Then they would wait for updates. And then finally the employee could begin. So this was not a good process. And unfortunately, we had varied results across our locations. So current state, it is all in the system. Day one, you show up, you log in, and you do your tasks. HR business partners can see where we are in the tasks and who's onboarding. Our general managers know what's expected of them, and the employee who's onboarding knows what's expected of them. And you also have status updates in the journey, so you don't have to go to multiple systems to see how that employee is doing and loading into the system.
And I want to talk a little bit about how we really brought this to life. And this is the part that I really like to geek out on. Essentially, we started by building two journeys. One was for the restaurant level employees, and then the other was for the restaurant support employees. And we primarily leveraged certain application tasks in the system, task types, I want to say. So the first and the one that we probably used the most were the application-specific tasks within the journey. So that included anytime when you onboard an employee, we can have a detailed list of things that the employee would need to complete, and also easy access to those application tasks that would enable the employee to go and fill in their personal information, emergency contacts, W-4, update their skills and qualifications, direct deposit information, and so on and so forth. Our second main pillar was, or the functionality I should say that we leveraged was the reports and the native e-signature functionality. there were a lot of policies that needed to be signed by the employee. And so what we had done was we had built those policies into a report, enabled the e-signature functionality, and that just enabled the employees to be able to easily complete those tasks. The third type are external URLs, and we primarily leverage them to point the employees to the learning system that would show them what learning opportunities are available for them, and also for them to complete their I-9 forms and E-Verify. And finally, we leverage configurable forms. Just a quick show of hands, how many of the folks in here have used configurable forms before? Okay. Because I think questionnaire is the one that's more frequently used, but configurable forms is another powerful tool that you can leverage. It's very easy from a reporting capability. It's also pretty, in my opinion, it's easier to configure as well. So we use those configurable forms specifically for the Chicago Good Faith Estimate, which is a form that managers had to complete. And so what we did was we had a task assigned to the manager for them to complete that form, and then automatically it would get recorded in the employee's document of record. So those are the four main pillars or the various task types that we leveraged extensively in both the onboarding journeys. And it just, you can just see, the foundational pieces that we use that really streamlines the process from an employee standpoint, from a manager standpoint. And it's a huge difference from having to do this, offline in papers.
I think you covered it, and Karthik, those are some great examples of using the functionality. The removal of paper out of our restaurants was really the big unlock for journeys for us, right? So it was a quick win from an implementation standpoint. We could walk around and tell our general managers, like, hey, we're going to take those files away. And they're like, yay! But the piece that, Karthik, that I wanted to add to what you were saying about the functionality is, over the last year, and hopefully you all have seen some of this as well, is just the innovations that are coming from Oracle with the inline completion. Like, our reporting's gotten better, so now we're tracking, we have better auditing, we have better reporting, so we have a better sense of what's going on and where we have it, and identify areas of opportunity and where we have to influence or support folks via more training. So it's been a nice evolution in the short time we've been live to see like really that cloud investment and those innovations that come on a quarterly basis.
Okay, the next place that was a big unlock for us with journeys was our internal mobility. So we have something called management staffing model, which is for restaurant leaders to increase in their careers. And so the way that it works is that you're taking certain certifications and trainings to advance. However, not every time you complete a certification are you getting promoted. You're just having a lateral shift in some cases. Now, the way we were managing that was through Excels. So your general manager would be updating Excel. Your district manager would be looking at that Excel. Someone saves off that Excel, reloads it. Now there's a V2, and now everyone knows and looking at the right Excel. And then the HRBPs aren't sure who's progressing in their careers. So not a great experience for our management staffing. And there was confusion. When do I make a transfer versus when do I make a promotion? Enter journeys. So this is where journeys had the tasks and clear expectations of the employee, and where we had the opportunity to make sure we had visibility to that progression, not just for that restaurant, but for a district manager to see who's progressing in all of the restaurants overall and what sort of options are available between the restaurants as well. So that was a very large unlock for Wendy's as well when we think about complex systems.
And to really talk about how we implemented this in Oracle Cloud, it's, again, putting a structure in place, leveraging the power of journeys in the system. And so we structured it in 3 different parts, right? The first part was restaurant managers needing to know what are all the different tasks, certifications, courses that an employee needs to complete before they can progress to the next level, right? So we had built 2 journeys again, 2 contextual journeys. One was for promotions and one was for transfers. And the way we had structured it was the first component was taking an example. If a crew member wants to progress to a team trainer, right? Restaurant manager, they'll get a journey, and that would clearly indicate all the different courses, the learnings that they would have to complete. So that was the first step. The second step was ensuring that a successful background check was completed. And the third step was ensuring that an interview was conducted and a readiness assessment was completed. Once all of those boxes were checked, that's when the employee is ready to be moved to a team trainer. The other, and again, like I said, it's a contextual journey, so it'll obviously point us to perform that action, which is a promotion in this case. But another thing that we also did for the restaurant managers was once a crew member moves to a team trainer, we also gave them a task in the journey that would help them advance their careers within that team trainer role. So it's, here are all the certifications, courses that you would have to do because you're a team trainer. It's just giving the employees enough support and also giving the right tools to the manager so that they can support the employees in their career progression.
It's great. I think this is another great example of taking some complexity and simplifying it using the system. So, the end users don't experience the complexity that Karthik just so eloquently described. But we can see where those employees are in the process. And then from an HR standpoint, they can also, back to data, we have reports, we have access to the information, and then the HRBPs, the HR business partners can say, hey, Elise has been in this role for 4 weeks. Is it time for her to move on, or is she going to stay in that role? And so that ongoing coaching is available as well.
And finally, you guys get to meet Patty. So I don't know if you can see from the back, but we took the conversation button and we put it in a hamburger buns, because we are Wendy's. So it is Patty, like a hamburger patty, yes? So Patty is an interactive tool. Again, when we think about self-service and we think about our crew members, our restaurant team members, they're not in Oracle HCM every day, nor should they be. And so recognizing that they're not used to the system and not familiar with all of the steps and balances, that's where we had the digital assistant. So you can go in and you can talk to the digital assistant and say, hey, what is my PTO balance? What is my absence balance? Do I have any approvals as a manager to make sure and check that? So that was a huge unlock for us to make sure that we had lower incident tickets. They weren't reaching out to their general managers to update their own data. They weren't reaching out to HRBPs. They could do it themselves, and they could do it from anywhere.
And really getting into the technicality of how we implemented Patty, Oracle Digital Assistant, we wanted to keep it simple for day one. We didn't really want to cram the digital assistant with too many custom intents, too many queries, too many responses. We wanted to build it out over a period of time, but also focus on what's really essential for day one. And so what we did was, step one, leverage the delivered intents. Leverage as many as we could, and wherever we needed to tweak the responses that Patty would provide, we would do that. But more importantly, we focused on creating 25 custom intents. So any area that wasn't readily provided or delivered by Oracle in terms of responses, we had created 25 custom intents. And we really focused on a few key areas. Some examples that I want to point out are being able to view company policies, employees being able to view their benefit balances, which Elise had mentioned, questions on time entry, questions on scheduling, questions on their pay, benefits, compensation, performance aspects, all of those things. Again, focusing on what's critical for day one. And finally, Elise had touched on this already as well. The branding was really important to us, right? It really represents Wendy's from the icons, from the color palette and everything. So that's another important step to make sure that Patty is coming to life.
So as we close out some of the functionality that we introduced to Wendy's, we wanted to give a bit of a summary on this concept from our project of fast, frictionless, and fun, and really thinking about self-service. So I think we've been clear in this presentation on kind of old systems and really just frankly catching up to all of you, I think, by the show of hands. But just thinking through simplification for our employees. What I hear about from our end users is it's really cool that I can see an org chart and my pay stub from the same system now. And this isn't a big deal, I think, on an outset or as a technologist, but for a general manager who needs quick access to information, or even some of our corporate leadership who doesn't have to wait for their HR business partner to reply to a question. We now have centralized some of the information that those managers need. Even just employment history, we used to have to ask for that, and now we have access to it. So we wanted to summarize just overall this concept of employee and manager self-service being an unlock for us.
Okay, so what's next? First things first, we're going to celebrate our first year live on Oracle HCM. Thank you. Yes.
Yay!
That's cool. We're very excited. But we also want to enhance Patty. So we have incident data. We would like to understand what more skills should Patty have so that she's answering more questions and we can lower the incident tickets. We're also going to go live on Redwood. So we're going through that testing now, and we're looking to expand the capabilities that Redwood offers us. We're also looking at improving our journeys and taking some of our other complex processes, like performance improvement plans, and bringing that into onboarding as well. So it's a long road, Again, we're really excited to share this journey with you guys. And what questions do you have for us? Hopefully some. Yes?
Are you guys doing this just within the US, or are you guys launching this globally?
Do you guys want to say?
Oh yeah, I guess we can sit. US and Canada. And then we have like a smattering of, oh, sorry, Karthik. We have a smattering of employees that represent Wendy's internationally that use some of the capabilities.
And just a follow-up question, have you guys encountered any language barriers that you guys might need to do translations? Like, do you rely on switching language, or do you guys do a lot of translations?
Actually, on our roadmap is doing onboarding for Spanish.
So we have we enabled the Spanish language pack when we went live. So we have that basic functionality, but some of the customizations is still an action we need to take. And we hear it's a I don't want to call it a burning platform. My boss is in the front row. It's really important and at the top of the list at this point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yes, we had a work stream for Oracle Digital Assistant, because you're right. It is a big thing to go live with. And we do not have like a specific individual who owns the Oracle Digital Assistant, but we have a support team who does manage the Oracle Digital Assistant, yes. Yeah.
Hey, for the promotion journey and job change journeys,
Yeah.
did you have to turn on job profiles first and skills and competencies?
We did not have to, no. Not for the first rollout, no.
Yeah.
Curious how you guys manage the change management for the field going from paper to digital onboarding, especially utilizing journeys to do that onboarding piece.
I'm so excited that you asked us about this. I was like, I hope we get a change management question.
You're going to answer it, right?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
I'm not going to need your help.
All right.
Yeah, change management was a huge effort. It was a work stream, absolutely. We also dedicated a large part of each of the work stream leads focused to change management. So we did have training. We also had change champions in each of our areas. So each of our districts had a change champion who was also responsible for bringing some of that change to the restaurants. We had trainings. We actually also sent our employees from the corporate office to each of the areas to do a day of training and be in person with them, have faces to name to help guide them through that process. Mel, what would you like to add?
That we're still working on it. Yeah, it's ongoing. And I think we did a blanket implementation. I mean, we didn't give an option. So it was like, hey, today it's electronic, go. So we're still working through the consistency, I think, of that electronic process. And for those of you that work in a customer service business where we have fantastic general managers that run our restaurants, but their job is not to be a technologist. Their job is to service our customers, right? So making sure that we're supporting them in the right way as they continue to learn the new functionality. And even as we evolve and change, making sure we continue that reinforcement of change management. And it is something that it's a practice now at Wendy's, and it's something we do continue. That's a good question.
In the back, Plaid.
Yeah, I thought I heard you guys say you implemented ERP financials first, then HCM.
Yeah.
So with my organization, we're doing the same thing. How much rework, if any, so for example, the jobs and positions we're using in financials aren't our actual HR jobs and positions. You didn't do it that way. You actually went with your...
We did not do it that way. Looking over here to our ERP guy. We did not do it that way, I'm saying, and he is smiling, so I'm feeling good about it. And we had a couple new jobs that we did have to add. And so we did have to do that. There was also a fun period of time where ERP had to integrate with our old system, and we had integrations for that as well to help manage the change.
One quick follow-up.
Yeah.
No rework as far as business unit kind of fundamental ERP figs that you got to...
I feel like we had one.
I don't want to say that there was no rework. I think there was a decent amount of discussion of like awareness of making sure, like, because we had chart of accounts in finance, and then we had to translate that into the new department structure for our HR system. So we do also have EDMCS, so we have them sort of
Playing that middle layer.
yeah, I was going to say like walking next to each other, right? Where we had to bring those processes together. So I would say there was a little bit of rework and a decent amount of discussions that we had to make sure we were all aligned and comfortable. And we pointed to our finance friends who came to support us and aren't heckling us nearly as much as I thought they were going to. But my colleague here in the corner, him and I speak quite often about kind of that continue of ongoing alignment and processes and making sure we still maintain that clear partnership. So.
No.
Was KPMG the integrator for both?
They were not. We had another partner that helped us with finance, and then KPMG supported us with HCM, and KPMG was there and supported us as we were going through the, let's make sure we all are talking to each other. Yeah, great questions.
Yeah.
Do you want me to take it?
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, it was new functionality. So, I mean, to be completely honest with you, it was the way you did it was probably the same result that we had too. But it's an opportunity now, right? So as we reinforce, and what we're working on from a change management perspective is, hey, did you ask Patty? So it's something that we're trying to work into the conversation. So I would say, don't be afraid to try it now, because I think it's still an opportunity. And then, like, the little button will show up, and then you have something to talk about on the home screen that you can highlight.
Go ahead.
Yes, with your direct deposit setup for employees, do you pre-note, and do you use any tools to help employees put in correct routing numbers and things like that?
Did you say preload?
Pre-note.
I don't know what preload means.
No.
We do not.
No.
Sorry.
Payroll's here too.
Yeah.
We have errors there. Yeah.
Tools that help them with the routing numbers and things, make sure they put the right thing in?
We don't have anything turned on. Is there something we should have turned on?
I'm looking at Trisha and Praful there.
Yeah, go ahead. We'll bounce it around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Getting in front of that as far as how things look and felt differently from a direct deposit personal payment payslip.
The other big thing that was huge was, I think it was like 24B released that functionality in the journey, being able to put in your direct deposit information there instead of pointing them to the tile that allows them to do it. That was huge in making sure they could really process and put in that information for first payroll run.
So you mentioned about like the real-time bidirectional data flow.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you guys use for like communicating between other applications with HCM? And do you use any middleware which is external or OIC, something like that?
We do use OIC, and then we do have still an in-house SFTP that we use as well. It depends on the application.
And how about for real-time?
The real time, I mean, it's not real time. It's not.
It's near real time.
It's near real time. Our legal team would want us to say that too. Yeah, in the back. Yeah.
What's your legacy HCM and what ticketing system are you guys using?
I'm sorry. Say one more time. The second question.
What's your legacy HCM and what
Ticketing.
Our legacy HCM was EBS, and our ticketing system now is ServiceNow. Yes.
I guess I implemented there, and I checked was a driver to go with HCM. But what was the differential for you to go with HCM instead of OIC?
That's a good question. I wasn't around for the.
Yeah, when we evaluated other HR platforms, and one of the drivers that led to Oracle as the selection was the unification of finance and HR. Some of the other platforms that we looked at, that I'm sure many of you also looked at, I would say some of them may have had some other user-friendly items that we would have liked, but the opportunity to bring HR and finance together was a driver in our cloud-first strategy, simplification of processes and systems, and for an organization our size, it made sense.
I love how boldly you said, I don't know what that means. So thank you for that. How did your contextual onboarding and mobility journeys fit in with other learning journeys?
Oh, good question.
So that's a really good question, and I think we use a different LMS system. We did integrate, I was thinking about this when we were talking, I was like, someone's gonna ask this question.
Yeah.
We did integrate some data out of our LMS specifically for the internal mobility journey, so the managers could see, oh, Elise has completed, the 3 trainings.
Yeah.
We call those We Learns too, because we're Wendy's and everything needs a name, right? So, so it's our LMSs we call We Learn. So they've completed those multiple courses in order to move to the next level. Learning is the next area on our roadmap where we're gonna take a slightly different approach. So we didn't wanna over-integrate in that space. But so it was just kind of dipping a toe. Does that help? Or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. We don't use Oracle Guided Learning. We used Oracle Digital Assistant. We had another tool, honestly, when we went live that allowed for that in-tool navigation that we frankly found people weren't using. So we no longer use it, and we use Oracle Digital Assistant. Yeah. How do we do the first time? We actually find it pretty intuitive. For the most part, it's you log in, you do your journey, and we might have someone sit with them to show them how to log in or click this link and log in. But the journey does pop up and they have the notifications enabled that they need to start using the journey.
We have these kind of basic, we call them hot sheets, or just kind of basic.
One pager.
Yeah, that sit specifically in our restaurants. So our corporate onboarding is a little bit more it's on Monday morning and there's a facilitator, right? So it's a little bit more, corporate-esque. At our restaurants, I mean, we just have people coming in every day, right? So they have some basic instructions that sit with the manager and in a place where the employee can access it, and gives them those first couple of steps to log in, tells them where to go, and then when you get to the journey, Elise is absolutely right. I mean, it's just you follow the directions. Yeah.
So the Oracle Digital Assistant does have releases. Like any other module, unfortunately, it's not the same timing as the other modules, because that would have been really cool. So we do have to maintenance it from that perspective. And then we're going down the path, like we said, of adding more skills and looking at it from that lens as well. But pretty low maintenance from a day-to-day. Yeah.
So I heard you mention reporting a couple times.
Yeah.
We were really excited about it.
Tools did you focus on? How are your users accessing them?
So we just turned on the Oracle Fusion. We don't have analytics. We had a separate reporting work stream that built common reports that we knew were in use. And then we have, I would say, been working to evolve that since we've gone live. Probably most of our end users, our HR users, are getting more comfortable with consuming the reports from a self-service standpoint. Reporting to was a little, we have some analytics tools that are self-service already in our environment that HR was used to using, so it was more about getting them comfortable with using Oracle. Any of you who are using Fusion, we probably could have a separate discussion about that. But we customized them to make sure that, and labeled them the same way for kind of the standard reports that we knew folks took advantage of and used in our previous systems. So there's probably a variety of answers. There's a certain amount of reports that my team will provide to specific super users, and then there's other end user reports that others will use. And then we've been working, I would say, as we moved through kind of the fight or flight stabilization period, like that first 6 months of now that we've sort of calmed down a little bit and moving more into a steady state of stabilization, we're spending a lot more time with our key HR and business partners to really understand, like, hey, what KPIs are driving your business, your function, and make sure that we're providing data or have a plan to provide that data, either in Oracle Fusion or using other tools that we have at our disposal. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. We're 6 years in the journey. I think last count was 1,000 reports.
You just made me feel so much better.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. Yeah, I think we went live with like a lot, and it's in the hundreds.
Yeah.
And we're trying to just pare that back. And each report, runs a little bit differently out of Oracle Fusion. So making sure we're providing the tools and the instructions and everything to use them, because I think what we didn't want to have happen is people are taking data out of the system that we know to be correct, right? And not running the report the correct way and seeing the errors. So building trust has been a goal of mine this year as we've moved through like defining those KPIs, how we're providing those KPIs, and that people feel comfortable with pulling the data out of the system. I'd love to hear more about your thousands of reports, though, if you have time after.
Yeah.
Did you consider going with Redwood as part of the initial go live?
Oh, good question.
Waiting later on, and also if you could talk at all about the data migration from EBS to Fusion.
Ooh, data migration. Okay.
I don't want to talk about that. I blocked it out.
We'll talk about Redwood first. So there was a conversation at our leadership level, like, should we do it? And honestly, I think it came down to like, we were so far in our configuration that taking on the Redwood was going to slow down our go live, and we just didn't want to do that. So we went live without it. And from a data conversion perspective, what would you like to hear about specifically? It was large. There was a lot of it. Sorry? Pain level.
Profil, how many times did I yell at you? Just that one time. It was just that one time, right?
So the pain level was not much because
Oh,
table structure, piecewise answer. Table structure between EBS and Oracle Cloud are not way too different. So to extract, if you know both sides, it becomes easier to extract data. And then KPMG was a center task to extract data, which we did. But we inserted one more pit stop in between that. Wendy's business looked at the data extracts, make sure that it looked good. So we had done 3 mock conversion events, and each mock conversion event, the business tested, validated the data, which gave us the confidence to go ahead and implement.
So in summary, my pain level 2 out of 10.
What did he say?
I think he said 2 out of 10. And I'm not so confident in that response. But yes, like having the KPMG set framework for that data conversion helped a lot. And then being able to validate it on our side, and then, like they said, we would actually test on that converted data. So each time we did a testing event, they converted it like they were gonna do at Go Live, and we tested on it, and we learned a little bit more. So that all helped. Painless, no, but not full-blown painful.
We were pretty specific on the scope, too.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say it was narrow, but we were specific about what we converted, and then are working on a separate effort for that EBS data that we have to keep for the length of time for the variety of data points. So we have that in a separate database that we access.
Controlling scope there was critical.
Yeah.
So on the same note, do you guys find yourself like auditing a lot more now that like all the information has kind of migrated? We also went go live late last year. We find ourselves like there's like certain employees that have like missing information, like you have to keep going back in. Do you guys have like a process for that to kind of have everything like real-time information, most up-to-date information?
So that's a really good question, too. KPMG helped us build a set of audit reports that, so my team is sort of HRIS and HR technology and like level 1 help desk. So we have like daily, weekly, monthly reports. So we still audit. And I think with the introduction of self-service is also the introduction of self-service, right? So I know it sounds like you're experiencing the same thing we are. I think some of the other things that we've experienced that we're still working through, frankly, is there's more flexibility in the cloud, right? So we have not this specific, in EBS it was like there's this specific job that's part-time, then there's the same job that's full-time, right? So now we have that flexibility. Well, sometimes HR or a manager doesn't pick the right thing. So making sure that we're auditing for those types of job mixes are other things that we've moved into. And I'll say, maybe your experience was similar, like as we've looked through the last 12 months, like what we're doing more of and less of now was different than what we were doing right at go live. So I think that's something that will always evolve, and I don't think we've nailed it yet, but we're learning quite a bit about where we need to be spending our time, and then what behaviors we have to reinforce, right? Elise mentioned this same team is also looking at the ticket data that's coming in of like, wow, we're getting a lot of questions on these things, or there's a high level of tickets on these things, and it helps with the reinforcement of behaviors when we compare that to the audit of data.
And then from a technology perspective, like, hey, like those people are entering X, Y, and Z all the time, and it's wrong. Like, what can we do to prevent them from entering that is also part of our work, even from an integration perspective, validating data more before we even load it. My favorite is the fat-fingered birth date. You're 12, you can't work here. And it just blows up everything. Like, I can't see my employee and they can't log in. I'm like, well, I'm assuming they're older than 12. So, and having to go back and fix those things. But even just auditing for that to try to help out general managers, when we find those and can get them remediated before that employee shows up to work, it's a great unlock.
How did you choose your implementation partner, and also how large was your team that worked on the implementation?
Oh, I knew you were gonna get that question.
Yeah. We chose our implementation partner through RFPs and discussions with them. And we came to KPMG because they offered so much expertise in implementations of HR. And they really brought that to us at our go live. So it was great. What was your second question?
The team.
Oh, how large was our team? So we had about 300 plus like participants, but our core team was about 120 people plus. Large. That was Wendy's and KPMG. Yeah.
You mentioned capabilities, roadmap, what's next. Have you gone through like a capabilities assessment to determine what those critical success factors are, how well you're performing against those to drive your roadmap contribution?
Honestly, right now our roadmap is dependent on, we didn't know this before, and now we need to do something different. That's really where our roadmap is focused, that and Redwood. But yes, that's where we're going when we think about the long term is, okay, like what's next for the business? What are we enabling in the future? Where is the business focusing? That we need to make sure technology is leading the path on. Okay.
Good answer.
Thank you very much, everybody. It was nice to meet you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yay.